Okay, we're now in the house. This is currently Seed Central. Now, in the olden days, this used to be a kitchen table. At this time of year, you have to choose at least one table to trash. So we've chosen this one, and it's actually not trashed because we actually ate breakfast here this morning. All I have to do is move a couple of things, and it's ready to go. I have my list of tomatoes here, and I have a list here of the first tomatoes and one pepper that I'm going to plant this year. Now, this is my small seed packet storage. So all I have to do is pick out the section called tomatoes, and there we go. I am waiting for some of the seeds to come in. Some of them will be in this coming week, but until then, I can plant other things. Pisano, Granadero, Gardener's Delight, Alaskan Fancy, Opalka, Granadero, and neither of those. Okay, so these will go back in the tomatoes right away so they don't get drowned around here. And let me sort these briefly. Let's see, make sure I don't have duplicates on any of these, because I think I do. I know those are new. Those are new. I've got to see if these are... Okay, some of these I'm going to need more than one packet of. I think this is actually empty. Nope, it's not. Okay. Well, some of the companies have changed their labels a little bit, but the basic information is the same. Now, I'm not actually going to grow these here. I'm going to grow them in the dining room, great room, call it what you want. I have my list here. And you might ask, how the heck did I decide on these particular plants? I obviously have quite a selection of tomatoes, and I actually have a few more besides these. I need to take that one with me, as a matter of fact. And I also need to take this pepper plant with me. Some of these were gifted to us last year, and we still have some. They've been carefully stored, so I see no reason we can't grow them again this year. This initial planting is based extensively on crossing our fingers and doing our homework. What I mean by that is this planting includes some of the shortest maturing tomatoes that we have in our stock. The shortest one on my list is actually Alaskan Fancy. Now, as another YouTuber was saying the other day, if you find something that's got a cold spot, you know, Siberian something or another, Alaskan something or another, you know, it's designed for a short season environment. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get some tomatoes in and going that will just literally hit the ground running, do their thing, give us everything, and then probably die when it gets to be hot. But that's okay because we will have already gotten a crop. Our tomato crop was terrible last year for many reasons. Some of it our fault, some of it the weather, some of it somebody else's fault. But that doesn't matter. What we're doing is looking at this year's, and we're trying to figure out, you can never outsmart Mother Nature. I learned that a long time ago. But you can try and work with her. And we know that statistically, we can't count on no frost until May 15th. That's like the 80 or 90% no frost date. But if we can get things going and really have them ready to hit that ground running, we should be able to have some fruit June. And that's what we're looking for. We may have some place that we need to go in July. We don't know yet. It depends on how the current situation pans out in the United States. There's a lot of concern that the event that we're planning to go to is canceled, and we will not travel if that event is canceled. I have a row here, or rather a column here on my paper that says either D or I. That means they're either determinate, which means they only go to a certain size and then stop and produce fruit, or indeterminate, which means they'll grow as long as you let them. Then I have the days to maturity in a nice, neat column next to that. Mostly neat, a little wobbly. And then I have the number of each one of these that I'm going to plant in my tray. Now, as I showed you in the greenhouse, I have a 10 by 5 tray. So 5 cells in one direction, 10 in the other. And I've got to figure it out how many of each of these I'm going to plant. This is not the only batch of tomatoes I'm going to plant. I've got another list I'm already working on. I'm still waiting for some seeds to come in. We placed a late order this past week because we decided we'd missed a few things. So I should have those in this coming week. Let's move into the great room and get these little beggars planted. Oh, and I should, before I get started, the other day I was scrounging around through something, as one is wont to do. I've been sorting stuff. Our grandkids are home from school in Seattle forever, as far as we know this year. And I've been sorting toys in the great room. It looks like something blew up in there, because it did. But I was sorting through old toys that we had that we could send to them. I have a monumental collection of Legos, and our grandson is a big fan of Legos. So we sent off a package this week that includes birthday presents for my granddaughter and a couple of assorted things for both the kids, some crafty stuff. And then we filled in all the gaps in the box with Legos. Now that seemed like a good idea to me. My goal is to eventually ship them all the Legos. So I shipped what I would call a tantalizing selection. My son had, my daughter too, but mostly my son was the one who played with them, had the most amazing collection of Legos. Outer space stuff, Robin Hood, castles, you name it. There's even some engines and stuff that they'll get later on. My dining room, great room, looks like a disaster because of that, but that's okay. Now, what I'm doing here is, when I was sorting the other day, I found a whole giant bag of popsicle sticks. And I've been using some popsicle sticks here and there again. I also have the little plastic jobbers. These eventually break, especially around here because of the UV. But I have a couple that will be okay for some of the stuff that's in here. I am going to make a couple of labels just because I don't want to screw it up and be confused from square one. I'm just going to do them by row if it's a complete row right now. That says Alaska, so that's Alaskan Fancy. I'm sure that I have some more that say these same things in the greenhouse. However, I will use them when I get around to transplanting. Right now, this will be enough. I'm just doing the ones that are on full rows. And I'll only need to label individual plants when it's time to transplant. I'm really, really determined this year that there will not be any screw-ups and that I will know what everything is. Did pretty well last year, but the problem was we had a couple of emergencies. Where we had to move things around at the last minute because things were going to freeze otherwise. Okay, so those are all 5s. That's a red. Pear. I'm using a special garden marker one of the things we discovered with regular magic markers, they will fade in the sun around here. There are very few things more frustrating than having a nice little label on there and you can't read what it says. So, now you're guessing. That's not my idea of a good time. I know these things will only hold up for so much time. They get kind of ratty after a while, but they're children's toys, basically. They're meant for, you know, building weird little things out of log cabins and things. So I'm not exactly going to be crushed if they get a little ratty. Now, I'm going to start with that. I can always make more if I decide I need to because of the way the stuff lays out in the tray. So let's go in the dining room. See you in there. We're in the corner of the great room. This is part of the crafty department. This is a huge quantity of boxes of crafty supplies. And there is a old, actually ancient, serger here and more sewing machines around here. Right now, this is the best, brightest spot in the room. So, and I'll actually be moving this stuff around later. What I'm just doing today is getting it started. And it doesn't really matter if there's any sun on these to start with. I'm just going to set this guy up. The soil has been pre-moistened. You saw me fill the potting soil in here in the greenhouse. So now it's just time to get these things planted. The vast majority of tomatoes say 1/16 to 1/4 of an inch deep. And that's what we're going to do. So, got my list. I'm just going to get started. Okay, that means all the seeds are in where they're supposed to be. In case you're wondering what my system is, if they're all the same on the same row, it'll have one tag. Where I have a mixed batch on a row, each individual compartment has its own tag. And you'll see that there's like one here and one there of carbon. That's because I decided I only wanted 4 of these. And we'll see how many come up. But this is just the first seeding. So this gives me a little space still. We're early enough that I can change my mind if I need to. I'm using a potting seed, a seed starting potting mix here. You'll notice it's finer, kind of fluffier. And I'm only putting a little bit on here. We just want to cover things up. We don't want to bury them a yard deep. But remember, these are 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. They don't need to be very deep. Sort of filling in the corners here in a couple of them so that the seeds are not tempted to wash into the corners. I hate it when the seeds wash into the corners. Okay, there we go. Good enough. Now, I am going to spray each individual cell just to soak it a little bit. The soil here was damp to start with, and I put water in the bottom of the tray so that it could wick up, and I sprayed from the top, and this is just plain water. I also use this for ironing sometimes. I think we may have even used it when the cat was little and needed to be squirted at. So it's a multi-purpose spray. Okay. Happiness. Now, all I'm going to do now is cover it with this little guy. And I'm going to get a heat mat to put under this. I'll plug it in over here. And then we wait, which is always the very hardest part about gardening. But here we go. We're getting started. We have some obscene number. Let's see, this would be, this is all tomatoes. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 tomatoes and 5 pepper plants. So stay tuned. You'll have to come back because you've got to know what happens. So if you like this sort of thing, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can see what happens, because we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff this spring and summer. We have our first itty bitty baby asparagus up now, and the regular asparagus should start showing up in a week or two. So spring is going to happen. So until later, bye.